Welcome to Building My Legacy podcast. This podcast is designed for leaders and entrepreneurs who want to leave a legacy and will provide strategies that focus upon key elements for legacy creation, determining your desired impact and its benefit, increasing your legacy's reach by engaging key stakeholders, planning, prioritizing, and executing. Here's your host, Dr. Lois Sonstegard.
Welcome, everybody, to today's Building My Legacy podcast. I have with me today Waynette Hollis. And Waynette, your daughter is 6 months old. What is her name?
8 months. Nevaeh.
Nevaeh. So we've got Nevaeh and Waynette with us. So just thought that the audience might want to meet her since they'll see it at the top of her head.
Yeah.
So Waynette... Yes, go ahead.
She's having a life exposed to meetings and presentations and things on mommy's lap.
It's amazing what they get exposed to, isn't it? So, Waynette, you are an intuitive leadership coach, which I think people will be fascinated to learn more about, especially since you are also an attorney. So you are an educated advisor and trusted counsel, especially to corporate women and female entrepreneurs. You have worked as a corporate lawyer. You have worked with private sector firms and regulatory bodies of financial services and telecommunications, which is pretty awesome. Those are pretty established and competitive fields. So it'll be interesting to hear about your experiences there. And as part of her work, one of the things that she talks about is what has been important to her is to use empathy and consultative analysis in dissecting complex information and unpacking mindsets so that progress can be made within organizations. So, Waynette, just tell me, how did you get on this journey? It's not a typical journey for women, especially women in the legal field.
Yeah, so my background is business and law, and when I went into law, I always had the intention of sort of going into business in the business world at some point and finding that job that happily married the two. And I never really found that position. I never really found one that existed anyway. And the ones that did exist, when I envisioned myself in those roles, I wasn't inspired. And where I was as a corporate lawyer, I also wasn't inspired. Again, I always knew that law, especially in the conventional way of legal practice, wasn't going to be the end all for me. I always knew it was more of a stepping stone. And, oh, baby. And so what I did was, while I was in law, I just began some soul searching, really. And asking myself the hard questions, giving myself the time to explore that. And I found that I had a sort of natural tendency to coach people. People were seeking me out, friends and friends of friends, other business people, entrepreneurs and whatnot. And so I saw that and I said, okay, I can do something with this. And it actually was a good fit because I enjoyed it so much. I lit up every time I had a meeting with someone. And every time they, would say, oh my gosh, like you have helped me so much. It was just so fulfilling. And so I said, okay, this is what I need to do. And so I took a leap of faith and I went against the grain, against everyone's better judgment. It's amazing how many people have sort of their own idea of what you should do with your life and your career. And just because I had the law degree, it was like, well, you're a lawyer. Well, just like, you should be happy with that. Like, that's a great accomplishment, like, just do that. And I'm like, yeah, it is. But, for someone else, they may find fulfillment in that, but I don't. And so I need to be true to myself and just, do what's best for me in that sense. And so I took that leap of faith and went from, earning really well to earning nothing, and just stepping out and believing in myself, believing that it will happen. And there began my own mindset journey, really. And then I did some courses to get certified, and so here I am.
So here you are. And you still work with corporate clients, or primarily individuals that come and find you?
Primarily individuals that come and find me, but I am open to corporate clients as well. And the type of client I tend to attract are the individuals and the entrepreneurs, the visionaries, the dreamers. I do really well with them. And often it's people with similar stories to me. They are put together on the outside, well accomplished on paper, but there's something in them that is crying for more, and they don't know how to feed that. They don't know what to do with it, or what's the first step. Can I do anything with it? What's holding them back? And different things like that. And so I work with them to look deep within and figure out what is holding you back. Is it really what you think? Is it really what's on the surface, or is there something underneath that? And unpacking those layers and then making lasting change so that you can move forward, so that you can create the life that you really want.
So what do you find are some of the biggest challenges? You work a lot with corporate women. So what are their challenges that you find that you work through?
Yeah. So aside from the being true to myself and what makes me happy, that is one of the biggest ones. And then the other ones are, imposter syndrome is huge all the time, right? And believe it or not, men are just as they're just as susceptible to that syndrome as women are. So imposter syndrome, being true to myself, and probably speaking up as a woman, Yeah, in the man's world, in the corporate world, not shrinking back. And I guess part of that is really tied to a little bit of an imposter syndrome, but it's a different angle.
So when you work with women on that, how do you work with them? Is there a process you take them through?
Yeah. So one-to-one is best. And we sort of talk first about, what's going on, what it is that they think that they want, what's the vision for their life, for their career, or for their role. Where is it they want to get to? What's that initial surface response? And then we talk about, things that are going on and their reactions to it, and how they felt, and, why they thought about things in that way. And it starts to paint a picture for me. And then I can guide them from there to searching those deeper levels. And we can do different techniques, some unconscious techniques, some limiting belief techniques to sort of remove those blocks and replace them with things that are going to be more empowering, things that are going to be more encouraging, more clear, more what's the word? Just clearer. And so that they have a better roadmap of how to get to that vision that they want. And a lot of times, the values that we believe we have aren't the real ones, or at least the priority preferences. The priority list is switched up a little bit. And then once we have that understanding about ourselves, we can move forward in a much different light, right? I liken the whole thing as onto something where it's like, it's really a self-knowledge journey. I think we spend a lot of our time in life getting to know other people, and we think that we know ourselves so well, and really we don't. And it's not until we unearth those deeper levels that we say, oh, wow, and a lot of things end up starting to make more sense. And the vision starts to make more sense. And the way towards it starts to make more sense. And so in that, in and of itself, that understanding brings empowerment, right? And so then once we have that empowerment and we're clear on that vision, and we can start stepping out now and having more faith in ourselves and believing in ourselves to do it, and start changing that negative talk, those negative stories that we tell ourselves, and that's how we start defeating things like imposter syndrome, because our perspective can change once we have understanding.
Sure. So tell me, limiting beliefs are so overwhelming sometimes, and they do limit us. Those limiting beliefs are limiting, period. So what kind of process do you walk people through to deal with limiting beliefs?
There are a few. There are ones that you can do at the conscious level, but it's really best to do them at the unconscious level. And so I am trained in timeline therapy, and that's one of the better ones for dealing with limiting beliefs. And we sort of work the whole technique in a nutshell is one that aims to remove the emotion from that belief so that you can replace it with the positive, with the learning. So for instance, my own coach said to me once, what is good about this bad situation? And really, that's what it comes down to doing, right? It's about making that negative belief so disconnected from the event that you can now sort of rewrite history and change your perspective and have a more positive emotion about it. So that the next time when you start to look forward and you have a similar situation, you can say, okay, I now know how to deal with that. And I can choose to think about it in a different way. And I can choose to believe and have a better feeling towards it. Because that's the other thing, is that we often forget that we are in control of the thoughts that we keep. We're not in control of the initial thoughts that come, but we can control the ones that we decide to believe, the ones that we want to ruminate on, meditate on, and allow to take root in our belief system. And with every thought, there's an emotion attached, and we can decide, okay, you know what? No, I'm not gonna believe in that one. This is what the truth is. I'm gonna believe in that one, and I'm gonna decide, okay, this is what's it for me, and change the channel, right? Change that energy. So yeah.
It sounds like it could be a very, very impactful way of approaching things. Right. So when you talk with people about working with their unconscious mind, do you find yourself having any pushback from them?
Oh, definitely. Definitely, especially people that are coming from analytical careers or scientific careers and things like that, right? Or people who are just naturally inclined to be, realistic or pessimistic. But that's why the approach is not one that's quite as direct as, okay, XYZ, is more about that guidance and being more suggestive, and allowing them to, it's really the client that does all the work, right? And it has to come from them, because it's about that self-belief level. It has to be within. It has to be authentic for them. And so really, I'm just guiding them and leading them to it, and suggesting the difference.
So you work with individuals. Have you taken this to the corporate world?
I haven't in the sense that I haven't done like a workshop, a corporate workshop or anything like that in-house as yet. Yeah. But I do work with a company that is for organizations that want to have some coaching done and whatnot. And I create the videos for them to use for their workshops and things like that. Or actually we have one coming up. I have one coming up in December 9th, where we're going to be doing it online, live. And it's not just for the organizations, but it's through that company that focuses on organizations. So yeah, that's as much, but I would definitely like to get into doing that in-house with different companies. Yeah.
So for you, Waynette, what's next for you? Your mind is always going, you're creating more and you're doing different things. So what's next for you?
One thing that I'm working on right now is creating a sort of membership group. And what that is meant to do is to sort of provide a little more than what I would post regularly on social media, something a little bit deeper on a monthly basis, but it doesn't go as deep as what I would do one-to-one. So it's not really any coaching, but lots of tips and tools and things like that. So if anyone, let's say there's people who, they're not sure yet, they can sort of see what it is that I do and how it works and whatnot, get some help from a distance at that point, and then they can decide to, if they decide to sign up, then great. If not, then they can continue to benefit from the membership. Or people who need to, giving me kisses. People who need to maybe save up for the membership or whatnot. But it's really sort of my approach to create that safe space for people who are still thinking about it, but want some help, and who can benefit from support system, because it'll be on a Facebook group. And so people can sort of put things in there. And what I intend to do is have monthly mini coaching sessions and hot seats where we sort of have hot topics and deal with that. And people can call in with their questions or their issues and different things like that. Yeah.
Sounds exciting. Exciting for your future in terms of what you're working on. And it addresses a huge need. Yes, it addresses a huge need for you too. Yeah. So Waynette, before we leave, anything else that you would like to share with the audience that you think would be important for them to know?
I would say, as a leader, remember that you need to first lead yourself. Mastering self-leadership really does wonders for when you're leading others. It allows you to be much more relatable. You're allowed to be a lot more clear on your own vision. And I mean, clarity and vision and leadership, all of that goes hand in hand, right? And once you have that, then I just find most leaders who have at least an active way of self-regulating in that way, they tend to impact people much more effectively. I know we're almost done, baby. Much more effectively and much more confidently. And what that does for a team is that provides so much comfort and support that a team needs, right? They want a role model. They want someone who they know has their back, someone who they feel cares about their success and their development. And it's important to remember that, you know, we're in charge of other people and their development matters. Their success matters. It's not just about us. In fact, once you become a leader, the focus really shouldn't be you. It should be about you serving the others, right? And helping them to become more like you. I always say, and actually I got this from a mentor of mine who used to say, I am leading so that someone can take my place. Like, I am working so that someone can take my place. That is my goal. And I find that historically in the corporate world, it's the opposite.
Yes.
And it's just not the way to go. And it's not necessary. And that's why the culture is so toxic.
Isn't that amazing? That is so true. It's we look for those kind of role models, but they're hard to find. And so sometimes we look to coaches to fill the gap while we sort. So, Waynette, thank you so much. Thank you for that background and experience that you have. And good luck to you with your little one.
Thank you. Sorry, she's a bit all over the place today. Usually she just sits quietly, but I think she's a bit tired.
They're part of our next generation, what we leave behind. So they're an important part.
Yes, absolutely.
So you take care. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And for those of you who are listening, we will have information about Waynette in the show notes so you can be in contact with her. And please remember to visit our website at www.buildtomorrow.com. And on our social media channels, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at buildtomorrow.com. Thanks so much. Thank you, Waynette.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Building My Legacy podcast with Dr. Lois Sonstegard. To book your appointment with Dr. Sonstegard, visit www.buildtomorrow.com.